What is going on, YouTube? Thanks for joining another fly tying tutorial today. It's been a while since I've put out a video. Apologize, it's been pretty busy, but we're hoping to get some more videos out for you guys. So as you guys saw in the title today, we are tying a leech. I love leeches. This video is going to be a little more educational, a little more talking. It does have some new techniques in it, so if there's things that you want to learn, you'll find it in here. I know everybody knows how to tie a leech. This has a little different spin to it. If you like listening to somebody talk, this video will be perfect for you. But if you don't, go ahead and skip it. We don't want you here. No, just kidding. But yeah, we're going to talk about this fly for a little while, and we'll go ahead and tie it. I'll have a few different techniques on how I tie this one, and different tools and stuff like that. So I hope you guys like this. Let me know if you like a little more talking style more than just hopping right into the fly. We're going to try and take our time more with this one. So this is a balanced style leech. We do have a jig style hook in the vise. You could tie this fly with a slotted bead. Go ahead and throw a slotted bead on there. A great way to fish that would be like on a Euro nymph setup. That works really well. I've done that. Or you can tie it balanced style, where you basically have a sewing pin with a bead on it, and it'll extend about, it depends on how heavy your bead is, but we'll get into that later. But it actually, your fly will sit like this, and it'll actually sit vertical if it's balanced correctly. So that's the fly we're going to be tying today. A little bit about the leech. I love the leech because it's a confidence fly for me, especially in still waters. You can really go crazy with this, or you can keep it really simple, and either formula is going to catch you fish. I don't think it's necessary to have 200 colors of this fly. I think once you find 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 colors that you really like, you stick to that color. And the only thing that I really change in these are my beads, either the color or the size of my bead, which will alter the weight. If I really want it to get down, I'm fishing a 4-0. If I'm not trying to get super deep, I'm typically going to a 3.3 or a 3.5 millimeter, anywhere in between there. And I keep a generic color. I tie most of mine in a black, an olive, brown, and sometimes a wine color. Excuse me. But yeah, I like to keep it pretty simple. Confidence flies are huge. I think they're more necessary than having 30,000 different kinds of flies. Find your confidence fly and just tie lots of those. Presentation is really important when fishing still waters. Almost more important than the kind of fly you have, because the fish get a lot more time to see that than they do if you're fishing in a river or moving water area. They only have that split second to see the fly, and they got to make a decision quick. But in a still water, they can swim around it and really take their time with it. So presentation is really important when fishing still waters, and not so much flies. If you have a good confidence fly, maybe 3 or 4 different kinds, that's going to play a big role if you have good presentation skills. And obviously, if fish are keen in on something specific, that's when you got to be the fly fisherman in yourself and be that guy to really go with what's happening and switch if that's needed. And if that's not your confidence fly, it's okay. If you need to match the hatch, you got to do it. So anyways, that's my little rant about confidence flies and leeches, and this is definitely a confidence fly, and this is one of my favorite color patterns that I tie in. And obviously I didn't invent this fly, but they don't sell it anywhere around me. I haven't really seen this colorway, and it's just kind of something I created, and something that you guys can do. You can really just mess around with different colors and sizes and stuff like that. So enough of the talking, let's go ahead and start tying this fly. So in the vise we have a Firehole 516. This is an awesome hook. This is a size 6 and it's a jig style. This thing is freaking awesome. It's just solid. It's a solid hook. It's really sharp. I've had great hookup rates with this hook. It's solid, it's strong. It's just an awesome hook. I would recommend it over most bigger jig style hooks. This thing has just been great to me. So like I said, we're going to be tying this a balanced style. So to do that, you're first going to need a sewing pin. This is Dritz. That's the brand. I don't know if you can see that with the light, but these are satin pins. This is the extra long satin pin, and it's an 1 5/16". This is the biggest one that they sell in the hardware store where I live. If they have a bigger one near you, go ahead and get it. I can fit a few 4/0 size beads on this at the little nail end of this, if you can see that. Some of those are too small for a big 4/0 bead. Some of the hairline beads don't fit on this, but most of the Firehole 4/0 beads fit. But yeah, I would get the an 1 5/16". That's the biggest one that they have. I think they might have bigger ones. And you're gonna need some wire cutters. So if you get the extra long ones, go ahead and cut that in half. If you have just the regular size, just cut off a 1/4. You're gonna want to cut off the needle end, obviously, and leave this the nailed end that you can slide the bead on. So we're gonna go ahead and, before we attach that, start our thread. We've just got some UTC 70 in black. You can use 140. It's a little bit bigger, but either one works. So go ahead and lay a thread base down. You're gonna want a nice thread base on the shank because you're gonna want that pin to be able to hold on to something as you secure it. So once you get a nice thread base, go ahead and grab your satin pin that's cut. Go ahead and grab your bead. This is a Firehole stone. This is a 3.5 millimeter in fluorescent orange. I like to tie these in orange, like this one. Chartreuse is a really cool color they have. These are also fluorescent, by the way. Matte black, white, and then your other silver, nickel, brass. Any of those other colors will look good too. So to secure this, this is an important part. So where to secure this? Depending on how heavy your bead is, the heavier your bead is, the closer you're going to want it to your eye, where your line is going to be connected to the eye of your fly, because you want to get that verticalness in the water. You want it to sit as straight as possible. So with a 3.5, the distance I like to go is an eye length past the eye. So not super long. If I was using a 4.0, I would be about 1/4 of an eye length past. If I was fishing a 3.3, say, I would be almost an eye length and a half past. So I'm just going to go right in the middle here, and to secure this, you want to make sure that your satin pin is on the top of the shank. Flattening your thread will make this a lot easier. So go ahead and take wraps on the top of this. You know what, we might be a little far, so we'll push it up just a little bit. There we go. Okay, So go ahead and take wraps down the shank. Now be careful on cutting your thread down here, and to protect that, I just like to come in with these sideways wraps to build a little bit of a ramp, cover up that sharp edge so you don't cut your thread. I've done it 100 times. So once you have your shank secured, go ahead and bring your thread up. Now you're going to want to pop your thread around the satin pin and take wraps up to your bead. Cover that with thread. Give everything a nice thread base. Okay, once you get back to here, go ahead and hop back up to your shank. Take your thread down just right behind the point. So for the tail of this fly, we are using some Nature Spirit. This is Fish Hunter, same thing, same company. This is their olive marabou. So I have just a nice fluffy piece here. We're gonna go ahead and preen this back to the size of tail that we want. These hooks are a little shorter than let's say a regular size 6, so I don't like a huge tail on these. A length of the body, maybe a little shorter than the body, would look great. So go ahead and flatten your thread out. To flatten your thread, turn it to your left hand, spin it to your left hand. Go ahead and take a securing wrap on the top of the shank. Come through with another one. And you have a nice little bushy tail here. And we can cut off all this excess pretty close to where your pin stopped, so you can keep a nice shaped body. Okay, so once you have your tail secured, looks good. Now we've just got the next step, which is a dubbing loop, which is going to form the body of our fly. So to do a dubbing loop, some of you might know how, some of you might not know how, so I'm just going to go over it. The best way to do a dubbing loop is to start not completely at the tail, but just a little bit in front, maybe a eye length in front of the back. You're going to go ahead and pull your thread down towards your chest here, and give yourself about 6 inches, maybe 6.5, 5.5, you can play in between. So once you get a nice long thread pulled out, go ahead and bring your bobbin back up and make a loop, so you can stick your finger in between, and now your thread is here. Now that you have this loop, go ahead and start taking wraps back toward your tail. Now, a big thing that I like to do is, if you can see my loop here where the hook point is, bring your thread around that loop and take one wrap and go up with it, and that'll secure it tight to the hook shank. So once you have your loop formed, go ahead and bring your thread all the way up past the hook shank and on to the satin pin and up to your bead. And we're gonna leave it right there. So from here, go ahead and grab your dubbing twister. I've had this Stonfo Roto Elite dubbing twister for a while. This thing is awesome. It's a solid tool. It's been great for me. It's got some cool features. I've never had a tool spin as clean and as smooth as this tool. So if you really want something nice, it's a little pricey, but it's worth every penny. So go ahead and get whatever tool, your dubbing tool you have, into the loop and open up your loop. Now for the dubbing this body, this is important. I have Arizona Diamond Dub. This is the bronze peacock color. This stuff is awesome. all of the diamond dub is really sweet. I mean, it's just, any color is great. Find the color that looks cool to you and fish it, and if it catches fish, stick to it. This stuff is really cool, really cool. It works well for me. So go ahead, and once you have your loop formed, to dub this up, you're just going to take a nice pinch, not too small but not too big, and you're just going to slide it into your dubbing loop and push it all the way up to where the loop starts. So, and we're just going to repeat that process, stacking little clumps behind each other, opening that loop to push those up in there with small pinches. And you can do this as sparse or as thick of a body as you want. Obviously, the more thicker pinches you put into your dubbing loop, the thicker the body of your fly is going to be. To do that, you can just slide your finger down, and it'll actually bunch these up even tighter, and you'll have a really thick dubbing loop, which some guys like, some people don't. So you can just play with that. So take your dubbing and go all the way down to where your dubbing loop starts, and it's connected to your tool. So once you have a nice long loop, go ahead and give it a nice spin. So now you're gonna have a rope that looks like this. Camera's not focusing in too far away, it's pretty tight. So, but if you can see that, it looks like this all the way down. Now you can just go ahead and grab a brush, a comb, anything of that sorts, and just kind of preen some of those fibers out. Try not to pull them out of the rope. So from here, we're just gonna dub the body, and to do this, you just use the roto feature on your vise. If you don't have that, I'm sorry, you got to do it by hand. So we're gonna take this up all the way to the eye where it starts to turn, and from here we're just gonna do the same thing we did with our thread. We're just gonna split the gap right here and hop onto the satin pin and take this all the way up to the bead. Make sure our thread is up there and keep it rolling. Get up to the bead, start to tighten up, fill up the little gap in the bead. I'm putting in a little bit of pressure here. Once you fill in some of that bead, now you can go ahead and catch that dubbing loop with 2 wraps, one in front. And then you can go ahead and cut this out like so. Now we're just gonna build up a thread base right behind the bead here. Grab your whip finish, go ahead and whip finish right behind the bead. I like to throw in 2 whip finishes. Snip off the excess, and then we come in here with some resin. You can use, any kind of resin or glue. Super glue works good too. I like the resin because it shows up clear. So I just like to fill in the little spot right here of thread that we built right behind the bead. If you can see, that bead is fluorescent, which is really cool. So go ahead and cure your resin. Put a lot on there, so give it a good amount of time to cure. That should be good. So then to finish the fly, I just like to get a comb or a brush. If you don't have one, I would recommend getting one, especially for a leech. It's just like the #1 thing you need. So I just got this little Stomfo brush. It's got a comb on the other side. And just start picking out the fibers on the body of this and making it really buggy. And this thing is money. If you can't tell just by looking at it, that it's going to catch fish. You're crazy. This thing catches fish, catches a lot of fish, and that should be good right there. We've got a nice little skirt built up. Again, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to my channel, to this video. Go watch my other videos. If you like this style of video with a little more talking, go ahead and let me know. We'll do more of these. And again, go ahead and play with this. Different colors, different kinds of beads. And I promise you'll catch fish. Again, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.